European colonialism in Asia had the positive effect of introducing modernization, scientific progress, technological advances, and educational institutions. As Asia moved into the 20th century, Western design started to have an influence on traditional Asian design. Modernism in Asia was not a radical movement as it was in Europe. Europe sought to reinvent a new life, leaving behind any connection to its past culture. Modernism in America focused on industrialization, standardization, and mass production, not culture. In Asia, modernism was an acquisition of knowledge, ideas, and technologies that designers applied as they saw fit, keeping in mind the preservation of their culture. Gao Jianfu, a Chinese artist, infused Western art with traditional Chinese art, creating a form of hybrid work, with elements of Chinese culture and reluctance to fully embrace Western art. In the India report, on recommendation from American designers, India was to use what was symbolic of the country in creating good design. European and American design ideas have influenced Asia at different times during the 20th century, and to a large degree still do today. They are evident in contemporary Japanese designer Oki Sato's minimalistic and simplistic approach to his designs. The first Chinese artists to respond to international developments in modern art were those who had visited Japan. The issues of modernization appeared earlier there than they did in China. Japan, although it was not colonized, was the closest country to have gained Western knowledge, so Chinese artists who wanted training in Western art travelled there in the early 1900s. Among these was Gao Jianfu, his younger brother Jia Kuifeng, and their friend Chun Shuren, all from Canton in Southeast Asia. Gao Jianfu, at the age of 13, started a 7-year apprenticeship with his master Zhu Lian. He learned about traditional artwork, painting landscapes, flowers, birds, and insects. In 1907, Jianfu went to Tokyo with his brother and studied at the Japanese Academy of Fine Arts, which was trying to modernize traditional Japanese art. Their style of art, called Nihonga, synthesized Western realism, natural light, and luminous colors, with Eastern materials, techniques, and subject matter. Their works started to resemble European watercolors by removing traditional Chinese contour lines with ink wash but keeping the traditional brush lines of ink painting. Gao Jianfu was inspired when he wrote, "I think we should not only take in elements of Western painting. If there are good points in Indian painting, Egyptian painting, Persian painting, or masterpieces of other countries, we should embrace all of them too, as nourishment for our Chinese painting." Jianfu, his brother and friend, returned to China and founded the Lingnan School of Painting in order to reform art in China. It was located in Canton, which being a port was a gateway to influences from the West. Jianfu met a political activist named Sun Yat-sen, who was trying to introduce the Western beliefs of improving people's quality of life. Jianfu agreed with him and wanted to instill the modernist principles of art being affordable and available to everyone. He participated in the civil war that brought down the emperor and led to the formation of the Republic of China in 1912. Our art shall break from the aristocracy of the past by catering to the masses, not to be owned and appreciated by the prestigious who look for pleasure. Jianfu, his brother, and Chen began a new national painting movement. This romantic style of painting created mood, had textural brushstrokes, fixed perspective, modern subject matter, and were full of light to reflect China coming out of the dark days of imperial rule. Jianfu was also an innovator by introducing public art exhibitions and art classes in public institutions. In 1923, the Gao brothers established the Spring Awakening Art Academy, where they could promote their reformation of Chinese art. When Chairman Mao came into power in 1949, Jianfu moved to Macau because he refused to be a part of the new communist art world. He later died there in 1951. In Autumn Melodies, the foreground grasshopper is pitched against the haziness of the background moon, resulting in a photographic defect, a technologically mediated vision processed through a camera lens. The moon shining brings the Western style light into this painting with the traditional brushstrokes of the trees. In the 5-story pavilion, Jianfu creates an atmospheric effect with use of washes that he learned in Japan, depicting a local building with significant Chinese history. In Waterfalls Among the Ravines, Jianfu used Western-style axe-cut brushwork to show the roughness of the rocks by angling his brush tip, and uses shading to make the painting look more realistic, with a 3-dimensional effect. Using a flat brush, creating an effect similar to watercolor painting, his quick, bold strokes are a departure from the more reserved and center-tip brushstrokes of traditional Chinese painting. He maintains a traditional Chinese landscape. In his painting Eagle, the bold heavy strokes of the brush show an intensity and dynamism of the eagle and rocks. He uses shading to emphasize rushing water. The eagle is a symbol of the courage and bravery shown by the Chinese people to overthrow the emperor. In 1927, his political views were made clear at an art exhibition in Canton. His series of airplane paintings such as Flying in the Rain were displayed with a banner with Sun Yat-sen's slogan, "Aviation to save the country." Here, Jianfu introduced planes as an emerging technology in China. In 1958, after India had gained independence from Britain, American designers Charles and Ray Eames were invited to improve modern design in India. They compiled a report that stated the need to pinpoint the crisis in the field of form, function, and a way of life. They recommended the formation of an institution, which today is the National Institute of Design, for research, training, and service. Their recommendations primarily focused on India developing designs to meet the people's needs and improve their way of life. The change was not some influence of the West on the East, and India was to maintain its identity. Oki Sato is a contemporary designer from Japan. Sato was born in Canada and was inspired by modernism at a young age. Being brought up in Canada solidified his understanding of Western design. He moved to Tokyo at the age of 10, stating, "Suddenly I was enjoying so many things that normal Japanese kids would find normal. I think that foreigner kind of way of seeing things really helps me as a designer." Similar to Jianfu, he got inspiration from the Western influences on Japan. He graduated in architecture from Waseda University in Tokyo in 2002, and then founded his multi-modality design studio Nendo, which means modelling clay in Japanese. His design of the Rakuyu bench follows the modernist principles of being simple, form following function, staying true to the materials and fulfilling the practical needs of modern life, much like European design. His designs have the added intention of being emotional and fun, as seen here when green and red shaped lights appear when you sit on the bench. Jianfu's approach to modernist design was similar to European designers, in that he felt there was a practical need for modernization in order for there to be improvement on people's lifestyles. He wanted to make Asian art more progressive but representative of Asian people, so he synthesized Western art and Chinese art where traditional elements were visible in his work. India took a similar stance in maintaining cultural elements in the new designs recommended by the Eames. In contrast, Western modernization went down a whole new path and the designers didn't represent their past culture. Contemporary Asian designers like Oki Sato were born into modernization. They didn't have to acquire knowledge through exploration like Jianfu. His designs have a lightness and simplicity that are obtained from the Western influences in Japanese art. Through designers wanting to experiment with new designs, education, expositions, and mass media, European design ideas are still influencing contemporary Asian design today.